Next time you get to the bottom of your cereal packet, hold on to this plastic lining because it's perfect for making a baby crinkle tag toy. To make one, you just need to hold on to the cardboard box so you can make a template. You'll need your plastic for the crinkles, 2 pieces of cotton fabric. I used this was an old duvet that I picked up in the sale from Dunelm. You'll want a teething toy and a selection of ribbons, preferably ones with all different textures to them. If you're just going to do one off, then you don't need to make a template, but if you want to reuse the cardboard, this is a good thing to use it for. So I just simply take my paper scissors, not my fabric scissors, and I draw a line that's 25 centimetres square and then cut that out to create a really easy template. I then get my fabric weights. These are brilliant. I got these from B&Q and I can never remember what they're called, but they're just perfect for this. And so I just put those down and I cut around the template on the 2 pieces of cotton fabric. Once you've cut out both pieces, you just want to set those aside and we're going to cut the ribbons. So I just picked up a really nice selection from the local sewing shop, and the whole point of this is you want ones with lots of different textures. So I've got shiny ones, these little ribbed llama ones, some mini pom-pom ones, some rick-rack, just a really nice combination. And we're going to cut these into 12 centimetre lengths and 15 of the coloured ribbons and then 1 of the slightly stronger ribbon that we're going to use to hold the teething ring. So you've got 16 ribbons in total. Next we want to cut out our plastic sheet. So if you just cut down the seam of the plastic, then you get the biggest square available, and open that out, and then using your template again, just draw around it and cut out 1 25 centimetre square piece. Now we're going to sew the ribbons onto 1 piece of fabric. So take 1 piece with the right side up and we'll put the one with the teething ring on first. So you want to loop the teething ring round the ribbon and pin the ribbon. Now you just want to overhang the ribbon slightly off the edge so that we're making sure that these are really securely sewn in, particularly because this is being made for a baby. I put 5 along this side and then I just take the other ribbons and just randomly put them round the edges. There doesn't have to be any rhyme or reason to this, just evenly spacing them out. So I like to kind of position them, and once I'm happy with it, then I carry on folding and clipping them in place. Once we're happy, we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're just going to tack those on with a 1/2 centimetre seam allowance. So starting on one edge, we're just going to back stitch, and I like to go across the one ribbon and then I go back again and then back again across the ribbon. And again, this is just to make sure that these ribbons are really securely sewn against the fabric. I find it quite useful using this little awl just to make sure that the ribbons stay in place as I'm sewing them, and then you just do that all the way around. And if you fold them out, you kind of get a sense of what they're going to look like once you've turned the whole thing the right side out. So now it's time to sew the piece of plastic onto the other piece of fabric. Now we're putting this against the wrong side of the fabric, and then once you're happy, you just clip all the way around, and we're going to take that to the sewing machine and simply sew those together with a 1/2 centimetre seam allowance. And now we want to sew this piece of fabric against the other one. So putting them right sides together, we line up the corners first, that makes it easier, and then clip all the way around. Before we sew, we need to take note of how wide the teething ring is, because we'll need to leave a gap at least that wide to be able to turn it the right side out. So at the sewing machine, starting at one side of that gap that you're going to be leaving, we're sewing now with a 1 centimetre seam allowance. And because I did 1/2 centimetre before, I can just follow that line against the side of my presser foot, and that just helps me keep everything nice and straight. I'm making sure all the ribbons underneath are tucked into the centre, if that makes sense. And then when we get to the corner, just so that we get a nice corner, I don't do a hard 90-degree pivot. I put my needle in and then I lift it up and then turn 45 degrees, do 2 stitches, another 45 degrees, and then carry on. And I'll show you why in a minute when I turn it out. Then you go all the way around and you get back to the other side of the gap and do a little back stitch to lock the stitches. Unhelpfully, my camera decided to go off and have a coffee break, so it didn't film me clipping the edges and the corners so that they're nice and neat when we turn them out, and cutting off the edges of the ribbon. And then it's time to turn it the right side out. This is the fun part. I take out the teething ring first, I find that easier, and then I turn the rest of it out. And you can use the ribbons just to pull out all of the edges Once you've done that, you want to get your trusty chopstick to go in and push out those corners. And you can see I mentioned about doing that 45-degree pivot. It gives you that lovely, slightly softer corner, which again is just nice if it's going to be for a baby. You can see you've got that hole that we're going to need to sew up. So if you just finger press that closed and clip it in place, then head to the sewing machine and top stitch all the way around to close that gap, and you are done. You've made a super easy but super gorgeous baby crinkle tab toy. If you liked my sew along, please do like, share, follow for more, and if you want to say thanks, feel free to buy me a coffee. The link is in my bio.